Let's start GB220 disassembling. Let's start with the battery cover. Slide down the battery cover and remove it. Once the cover is off, pry loose the battery by placing your finger in the groove on the lower end. Unscrew the 6 screws on the rear. Open the cap receptacle and use the groove to disjoint the rear cover hassle-free. Now, let's release the main PCB. First, disjoint the LCD connector on the upper center. Next, to release the main PCB, get a spatula to disjoint the hook on the lower left. Remove the main keypad. Get a pincet to pry up the stopper hinge. Now, get a driver to push the hinge folder to the right and pry it loose. Well done. Let's move on to hold the folder and the front cover with both hands and gently pry it off downward. For your information, unless you want to damage the main FPCB, take it off slowly from the groove. All right, now let's try the hinge folder on the front by pushing it to the left. Get the pincet again and remove the cap screw to disassemble the folder. Next, go to the lower cover and you will see the 2 screws. Why wait? Just undo those screws. Get the spatula again and place it in between the upper and the lower cover. Pick up the pin set again. Remove the insulator on the main FPCB connector. It's on the upper end. Then pry the main FPCB connector from the LCD and try the 1.3 mega camera as well. Good. This time, you may as well get another tool, a soldering iron. Use the tool to pry off the soldered part and disjoint the main FPCB. Pick up the pin set again and remove the speaker and the motor. Now, remove the bracket LCD from the lower cover. Do it slowly and top to bottom. Remember, you should be careful not to damage the motor and speaker wires. Disjoint the LCD module from the lower cover. Use the pin set again to release the 1.3 mega camera. Next, to disjoint the main PCB and the shield can, first undo the two hooks on the right and move over to those on the left. All right, the shield can is off. Finally, see the rear cover. You are to disjoint the antenna. Pry open the hook on the lower end of the rear cover and pull it upward. Okay, that's all for GB220 disassembly. Let's try GB220 assembly. First, seat the 1.3 mega camera on the lower cover. Next, seat the LCD module on the lower cover. Now, do the same thing with the bracket LCD on the lower cover. Remember, pay extra attention not to cause any harm to the motor and speaker wires. Let's seat the motor and the speaker on the lower cover. Then, tuck in the cable without messing it up. Now, joint the main FPCB connector and then attach the insulator. Next, solder the main FPCB. Then, in the hole on the upper end of the lower cover, tidy up the FPCB and assemble the upper and the lower. First, try the upper end, and then joint those hooks around. Put the two screws in the lower cover. Go on to attach two cap screws to the two spots on the lower cover. Joint the hinge folder with the front hole. Okay, now tuck the main FPCB lying outside of the folder in the front hole. Watch out not to cause any damage to the main FPCB. Joint it and push the hinge folder in. Push the hinge folder into the inner side of the folder and the front. Get the pincette to place the stopper hinge in the stopper hinge hole and seat it in between the hinge folder. Are you there? Okay, assemble the main keypad to match the front guide hole. Now, let's turn to the shield can. Fix the shield can to the main PCB by trying the two hooks on the left first and then those on the right. Next, seat the side FPCB in between the side key and then try the main PCB. Once the main PCB is seated well, joint the main FPCB connector on the upper end. Match it with the antenna hook on the rear cover. Now it's the rear cover. Start with the hooks on the upper end and fix those downward. Okay, it's almost done. Joint the 6 screws. Put the battery in its place. Finally, place the battery cover. It's done. Turn the power on. That's all for GB220 assembly.